Welcome. We got hearts flying already. It's not even the first minute of this session, so I am already so excited. I am going to not allow the AI chats to take their notes. Um, let's see. I'll work on that while I get y'all started on connection. Let's connect. Let's see who's in the room. I would love for you to share your name and your pronouns in the chat. And I've got a little sentence completion here. Something I'm curious about that brought me to this webinar is, and I invite you to be as specific as possible because it will also help guide where we go tonight. Um, so feel free. Tell us who you are, why you're here in the chat. We'll give people a few minutes to settle in, and then we'll take it away.
My name says Andrew Smith. He's my
Thank you.
husband.
Okay. Tell me what your name is, and I can rename you.
Well, he's primarily here. He's still out in the barn doing chores. So I told him I would pay attention until he got here. So I
Okay.
figured it was better to leave it as his name because
We can do
um,
both of you. What's your name?
um, you can just put Jill. I have a
All
very
right.
long
Great.
last name that's
We'll
not worth
go with
trying.
beautiful.
So
Thank you for revealing yourself,
and
Jill.
and I think the thing that we are curious about is he does dairy replacement heifers and raises all of their feed. We also raise our own meats and gardens, and we are approaching the age where we'd like to think about retirement. And I think this was a way of seeing, since it was land access, not only for those who need it, but those who have it, was in the, so that's why we're here.
Thanks, Jill. I appreciate that. I'm seeing some other introductions coming into the chat. Welcome, Jennifer. Nice to see you. Hi, Honey. Hi, Alphonse. Hi, Eric. Let's keep these intros coming. Name, pronoun, something you're curious about. I'm seeing excited to learn more about Rocksteady, finding and paying for affordable land. I'm seeing Eric's reference to a farm to plate session about re-envisioning risk, looking at intersections between collaboration and innovation. Barry, yes, getting more farmers on the land. That's one of our big goals as well. Emily, welcome. Interested in learning about issues that impact Vermonters as law students moving to Vermont. Great. We do need more lawyers and more farmers. More lawyers doing land access work specifically. I'm putting that call out. Um, Welcome, Jean. Nice to see you. Welcome, Megan. I am going to move us along. Please feel free to keep introducing yourself. My name's Megan Browning. My pronouns are she, her, and I work on the Farmer Services team at NOFA, Vermont. I started at NOFA back in 2016 in the middle of 10 years of vegetable farming. I worked in the winters at NOFA as our winter conference coordinator. And now I work with beginning farmers and I facilitate our peer-to-peer farm programs. And tonight I'm here to serve as the facilitator for this conversation and want to acknowledge that I'm not an expert in these topics, but I'm here to learn alongside y'all and hold an intention to create a space where we can all learn together and learn from each other. I am gonna just briefly reference our community agreements. We sent these out when you registered. And while you review those, I'm going to share a couple of just quick Zoom housekeeping notes. I do want to let folks know that closed captions are available. You can use the show captions button at the bottom of your screen if you need that or want it. I also love so much that I'm seeing these reactions flying already. I don't know if I've just been like sleeping on the Zoom features, but I feel like it's just in the last month or two that I've just been seeing these flying reactions and I really love it. So I'm going to welcome folks to use the reactions buttons throughout if you want to share some love for something or some encouragement or appreciation or some trumpeting of confetti. That's lovely too. There's also a raise hand button, so we're going to encourage you to come off mute or at any point if you need to and use the chat. But if you do need help getting involved and want to raise your hand, I'm happy to call you in. And if you're able to rename yourself to make it accurate, that's helpful so we know who you are. You can click on your name and there should be an option to do that. I'm seeing some more folks come in the chat. Welcome, Matt. Hi, Richard. Hi, Tori. And hi, Zachary. Glad to have you all here. We are going to be recording this session to post on our YouTube channel, and some folks have asked about past sessions. They're all in a nice little playlist on our YouTube channel. So we've been seeing a lot of folks viewing them after the live session, and we're excited to build up this resource library for folks who are interested in watching after the fact. And I just want to say that we welcome you to care for your needs during this time. It's nice to see faces when we can, if you're able to turn on your video, but also whatever it looks like to you to take care of yourself and be present here works for us. So we invite you to participate as much as possible in a way that works for you. All right, I'm going to invite you just to connect a little further to put an emoji or two in the chat to share a little bit about how you're showing up this evening. We are living in wild times where we welcome you tonight as you are. Maybe you're celebrating something, maybe you're grieving something. Oh my God, those aliens, D, love the alien reaction. Yes. So go to the chat. Alphonse, you're put in the bed, but you are like the highest reactive participant in this group so far. So I love it. I hope that's like a future aspiration to go to sleep. Tori, the snowman, snow lady, snow person, love that. Mia, Swiss cheese. Is that a representation of your brain? I'm curious. That's what I'm interpreting. We've got some fun, like nerdy glasses, some hearts. Everyone's excited. Hungry. Yes. Cold candy coffee. That is accurate. I am cold. I would love some chocolate and some coffee. Although coffee would definitely keep me up way past my bedtime. Eric, extra credit for the GIF. I love this. Okay, hot chocolate. Oh, it's hot chocolate, Megan. Good idea for this hour of the day. All right, I gotta keep going. We're gonna spend all our time here on these emojis. We could do this all evening. Thank you. Really nice to be with you, and I feel like we have a very eclectic mix coming in of where everyone's at. We also, I just want to remind folks who we are here. I've picked up some clues and know many of you here, so we have a little sense. But we got almost, I think we're up to almost 270 registrations for this webinar series, and so we're a group of farm workers, farmers, land seekers, landholders, lawyers, educators, students, community members, and all people generally who are excited and interested in breaking down old, dirty systems and making new, shiny, colorful ones that serve us all better. So, really excited to have all of you here. Before we dive in, we are going to follow our custom in this series to honor those folks who are in your life or who you admire from afar, people who are leaders or ancestors or mentors of yours who we want to thank and bring here for helping to lead us to this moment and pave the way for this conversation. So I'll ask you again to engage in the chat if you can and share the name of someone that you want to honor for their work in the space of land, food, and community that has maybe paved the way for you or paved the way for this work. I'm gonna share a compilation of all the names that have come forward in this series so far, and we will continue to add. As we let some names trickle in, add to our list. Feel free to put names again that you already see on the slide. It's about bringing them here tonight. Um, I want to remind us again that land is only a commodity because of colonization and the artificial adoption of borders that govern. I want to collectively honor the indigenous people who've been stewarding the land since time immemorial and who continue to do so today. And I will add that we are excited to be working in small and big ways towards decommodifying land as a longer term goal. And remind folks that many of the things we talk about today as alternative have roots in the Black community. One really notable agricultural cooperative was the Freedom Farm Cooperative, founded by Fannie Lou Hamer in the 60s as a strategy to provide basic needs to each other when they were being systematically denied. And we honor the roots of these alternative systems, and we draw here from a legacy of wisdom and persistence. And in these conversations, we're really asking each other, how do we build structures to help all of us meet our basic needs and have the opportunity to grow food for ourselves and to feed our communities? I'm gonna check in on the chat. Thank you for these beautiful offerings. Dr. Jessica Gordon-Nemhard, Eric Holt Gimenez, previous and present land tenders, Farmer Jan Fleming and Miss Maylene Cumberbatch, LL Gameno and the Queer Land, Robin Wall Kimmerer, inspired by the National Circle for Indigenous Agriculture and Food, Frances Weller, Miss Major Griffin Gracie. Thank you all. So for those of you who are new to NOFA Vermont, we work to build bridges between the world we have now and the world that we long for, just as all those who've come before us have worked in this um, have worked in this work of cooperatives and building new systems. And this is what we're hoping to do with this series. I did a thorough introduction to NOFA in our first session, so you can watch that in the recordings. But I do encourage you to check out our website, and I will reiterate every time that we are a member-led organization. So if you're not yet a member of NOFA, I encourage you to join. Membership starts at just $1, and we want you to be part of this movement with us. So welcome. Thank you for joining together tonight, for being here, for showing up to work toward a future that we know is possible, a future where all are fed. And we're about to dive in here. I just want to share briefly sort of this road we've been on and where we're headed. We've got, when we initially announced this series, tonight with Rocksteady was going to be our last night together, but there's been really great response, and there's just seems to me like an endless number of awesome projects and work to feature and highlight and learn from. So we're continuing on with this series. We have 3 more dates planned: January, March, and April. In February, we have our winter conference, and we hope you'll join us there. There's a lot of really great sessions related to this topic that we'll be exploring live at St. Mike's, and registration just opened for that this week. So I'm gonna skip ahead to get us into conversation with Maggie and Dee. Um, Thank you both for being here. We're going to hear about Rocksteady Farm. We're going to hear about the land access story and more. We're excited that you both are founders and have your 10 years of experience running the farm to share with us. And I'll just say that I've been following Rocksteady Farm for years, and the work and communication that I see from Rocksteady Farm is always just so inspiring and joyful. And I was telling Maggie and Dee before we opened up this call that I just had the pleasure of looking through their impact report and was just so excited about all the fun colors and joy that they bring to this work, and just the way they're showing up to feed their community, not only through food grown on their farm, but supporting farmer training, redistributing funds to other farms and food projects, and offering so many workshops and events. And they're just really walking the walk over there, breaking down systemic barriers and modeling for us how this work can be done in a way that's celebratory and liberatory and full of care and joy. So I encourage you all to listen tonight, and share your questions. We'll save plenty of time for Q&A. We had some work to kind of like narrow down what Maggie and Dee are going to share, but it'll be the tip of the iceberg, and we'll hopefully get into some more of your questions at the end. But feel free to put questions in the chat along the way, and as they come up, and I'll sort of help to facilitate making sure they all get addressed. So. That's it for me. Maggie and Dee, I'm going to pass it on to you. We'll share your screen and take it away.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Megan. I'm going to share my screen. So hope this works. Can you all see everything? Cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
perfect.
So we have around 35 minutes to talk about Rocksteady. We are going to do our best to do a really broad overview for you all. My name is Maggie. I use they, them pronouns. Dee and I will introduce ourselves a little bit more in a sec. But this is what we're going to do, talk about our beginnings, land story. But then when I was talking to Megan, it seemed like Megan really wanted a little more than our land story. So we are actually going to be talking about quite a bit more than that. Like finances, our co-op model, and just big picture kind of lessons learned. So please ask clarifying questions in the chat while we go. And we welcome Megan to interrupt us. And then we'll also have a huge Q&A at the end. So Rocksteady Farm, we're a queer and trans-led multiracial worker cooperative, and we grow culturally meaningful foods for queer and trans, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Farmers specifically. We also catalyze structural change in the food system, and we center Q2 BIPOC farmers in our work to build a liberatory future. This is the current owner team. So why did we decide to start a worker-owned cooperative? I'm going to pass it to you, Dee, to start us off. You can introduce yourself.
I'm just doing my intro, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Good evening, everybody. I'm Dee. I use any pronoun or Dee. I am one of the founders of Rocksteady, current worker owner, as well as a co-director with Maggie. I think just to keep things brief, I've been farming for the last 13 years. I actually started my growing and farming journey in New York City. I was just sharing with Megan earlier that Maggie was actually one of my first farming mentors. And Maggie and I have been like we've been toiling together pretty closely since then. And it's like one of my greatest pleasures and greatest honors to not only be doing this work alongside Maggie and many other people, but I just really yeah, really have a ton of respect for Maggie and just really enjoy doing the work that we do together. So also happy to be presenting to all of you tonight. Big fan of NOFA Vermont, great conference. I encourage everybody to go who can. Yeah, and I say that's it for now.
Cool. Thanks, Dee. Yeah, so as I said earlier, Maggie, I'm co-director with this joker over here. But yeah, I've been farming my whole life, so I come with that background. My dad's a farmer, has been farming vegetable operations my whole life. So I grew up as a little kid, kind of on the land, and learning from lots of different scaled farms. He never owned his own farm, but also different like nonprofit type farms. And yeah, worked on a lot of different projects, which made like the desire to start a co-op really like clear for like myself and Angela and Dee from the jump, just to like have another model out there. We didn't see a lot of co-ops. We didn't see a lot of farms focusing on food access as well as tending the land and tending the people in the way that we wished we saw. You know, a lot of restaurant farms that were selling to high-end folks, and we didn't want to do that. So I think we, started the project with just this notion to like, let's try to create something, and at some point, we'll try to teach it back. So 10 years later, we're keep trying to teach it back. We've evolved a ton, but yeah, we're still on our journey.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm going to take us through our beginnings, right? Here's the three founders. All of us had no inherited wealth, but we did come with a lot of experience farming, which really helped. We weren't going into this, as really beginner farmers. And we ended up transitioning a sole proprietorship from the farmer who was running a farm on the land we currently are on still. So Angela and I were managing that farm, and he decided to move to Spain to be with his husband. And we were given the amazing opportunity to purchase the farm, not the land, but the um, equipment and the greenhouses, and the CSA membership and wholesale accounts. And really just like, you know, fly by the seat of our pants, like pretty quick turnaround. We bought it in December, and then our first season was that following spring. But because it was like an existing operation, we could really start with quite a lot set already. Um, like I said, we didn't have money, which was not maybe the smartest choice on our part, but we each put in $500, and we got a really big loan. And because we had the farming experience, we felt confident in our growing skills to be able to pay that loan back. So those were those early years.
Maggie, there's a
We,
question about if the loan was from a traditional bank.
Great
That
question.
initial one.
It was not actually. We did apply to FSA loan, but we ended up kind of simultaneously applying for a loan with what was then called the Working World, which is now called Seed Commons. Um, and Seed Commons is a large loan fund for cooperatives specifically. They're actually are only a few farm co-ops that get funding through them, but they are a non-extractive loaning institution, so they didn't take a lien on our personal assets. We had really, really fair terms and interest rates, and we got technical assistance with it, which was super critical, to connect us with like, also the co-op world, which I think is really beneficial to kind of like the support network we've had over the years is this co-op kind of community as well. Yeah, so we started out with the same model as we have today. We're a multiple owner LLC with a fiscal sponsorship. We, in the beginning 5 years, were really primarily sales based. So we were like 85% sales, 15% donations, but we always had that fiscal sponsorship, even for that small amount of donations those early years. So that like folks can have tax deductible donations, like as if it was a nonprofit, but it just goes through another entity. And yeah, we really kind of tiptoed into our queer identity based on some really hard previous experience with being out in community. But after we felt like we had enough trust with our local community, we were more and more out, and that's been a defining part of who we are, as you can tell in my intro. So our land story, look at that beautiful land. My goodness. We are so lucky to be stewarding this land after so many generations of stewards before us and the Scotticoke people and Mohican people. So much love and appreciation to our land tending ancestors. We have a beautiful 12 acres that we steward. We took over the previous farmer's lease, and we adapted it and updated it. So we seeked mediation support, legal support, and we are over the first 2 years of our operation, we really fine-tuned that lease. So we kind of got up and running with like the same lease basically that the previous farmer had. And then over the course of 2 years, we worked with the landowners, who are our neighbors, to really make the lease what we wanted it to be. So it was a 10-year rolling lease, and the rent was very affordable for what we are using. We have a lot of barn space and storage space. And the rent is actually based on those buildings and the well that we put in, not on the land. So the land is free, which is not always the case, but is so that's what helps make this more affordable. We used to have another lease, which I forgot until today when Dee and I were prepping for this session, with another larger scale farm. Amazing farmers. Thank you so much, Julie Sillamar, for your mentorship those early years, who they leased us around 5 acres on their property, 5 miles away from us. At the time, we were, wanting more land to kind of rotate and grow quite a lot of food. But we ended up dropping that lease because it was too hard to navigate the two sites. We were like driving our tractors on the road back and forth, forgetting shovels, forgetting something, harvesting back and forth. It was a lot. I know a lot of people do multiple site leases. We just ended up wanting to simplify the relationships that we managed as well. And we instead kind of like redid all of our fields. So we were making more efficient use of the land that we did have at this site. So we ended up redoing all of our roads and farming little nooks and corners of the land. And we didn't actually reduce our acreage by too much, which was a cool thing to figure out those first few years. This is this year, these beautiful flowers. Shout out to Noah, who was our flower manager this year. Yeah, so over the years, we felt really, really grateful to have 12 acres. We haven't needed all of it. We usually farm around half of it and cover crop half of it. So we've subleased to other farmers, and incubated farmers so they can use our facilities like our wash pack and our coolers, and just trial their farm businesses the first few years. So that has been a really nice way to just support folks in our community. We are building off of that in a way that I'll talk about in a second, because there's a lot of learnings with those incubations. And we eventually will have this land as well as our neighbors' land, and our neighbors also have another project that's a retreat center. The whole land will be eventually put into a community land trust. That is still a ways away. It takes a lot of time to really build out community land trust. So we're patient. We've got a really great relationship with the landowners. And until then, we're trying to update our lease next year to be at least a 50-year lease. So that's in right now, we're drafting that with some lawyer support. But we're also simultaneously investing a ton of time co-creating a new land-based project with our neighbors um, based on all of our years of subleasing and trying to incubate beginner farmers. We realized we really needed to create something new. So we started the Weebsuck Valley Farm Collaborative with our neighbors, Sweet Freedom, Wild Seed, Catalyst Collaborative. And this is a new entity we've been working on for the last 2 years, based on 10 years of like deep partnership with these projects, really strong relationships actually that go back 15 years between some of us, Naima, Jalal, and us. And we are thinking about the land not as just like Rocksteady's 12 acres, but the 200 acres that we steward together. And we are renovating two massive barns to have better spaces for incubating farms to use, as well as aggregating like a lot of farms in our area so that they can use our coolers and just like have this be a community resource in a way. So commercial kitchen, grain mill, all of this stuff. So that's a big project that you'll hear about more soon. But another take on our land. I'm going to go through the next slides kind of quickly because we don't have a ton of time. But this is just a little bit on our money story. It's been a rocky ride, really, really slim early years, with the last 5 years learning a ton about kind of our food access work, our education, advocacy work, and diving into more of the fundraising to support that vision and how we can support other beginner farmers. So we're in the more stable time of our history. Though we learned a lot our first 5 years, and we try to teach that back. This is my favorite slide because it shows our loans going down, just to be honest with y'all. We've taken out a lot of loans over the years, but we pay them back. Love our finance people, our bookkeeper, Hannah, who is just amazing, who's been helping us really, really dial our finances over the last 7 years. So 2025 was our 10th season. Right now we have 4 worker owners of our co-op. It's fluctuated between 5, 3, 2, depending on the year. And yeah, it'll be interesting. Our team right now has been around for a really long time, amazing farmers. So we may have another iteration of kind of like folks joining the co-op in some, years to come. So amazing team, 13 of us. Our pay is 21 to 28 right now. And we would not be able to do that just through the sales of our vegetables. So just transparently, the cost of living in our area went up so much in the 2020 pandemic years when New York City moved 2 hours north exactly to where we are. And now the cost of housing is unbelievably high. So we've been forced to also meet this moment with a new strategy, which does bring in fundraising to help pay for our team salaries. Here's a little information on our like income. So a good chunk this year, we're 217 person CSA. We also, in addition to that, had 80K in wholesale. There's a lot of information on our kind of where our food's going. That's another workshop, but it's very interesting side of the work that we do too. And then we also bring in funds through consulting like this and other fundraising. The other stuff that we're doing. So we've got Pollinate, a 2-week immersion training program for beginner QT BIPOC farmers. We do community work days, public workshops, tractor trainings. That's Dee's baby. Big events. There's some pics from this year's block party that we do. Advocacy work. Monty from Catalyst, shout out to you helping us with our advocacy work. And D, you're up, our co-op model.
Ew, I'm not ready. All right, next slide. Great job, Maggie. Okay, great. So our co-op model, we have lots of documents, which we will be able to share out and get to y'all. We'll make sure we get those to Megan so they can be dispersed. They're also translated into Spanish as well, and we recommend that folks can share them widely. But the cheat sheet is something that we offer to our employees at the beginning of our season, which is traditionally around April. And we do a pretty intensive orientation with our staff. We have an employee manual. We do financial beginner financials to the co-op too, because part of what we feel is incredibly important for our employees, not just because we hope that some day in the future they'll want to possibly join us as a worker owner, but we really do feel that it's important to be transparent about like how Rocksteady as an entity works, because it is a very unique beast of a project that has a lot of nuances and some really interesting and intricate things. And so financials feels like a really big, important one of many. But the cheat sheet is like kind of a condensed version of how we can inform our staff of like what it means to be a part of the co-op. So here are some points that we have that we yeah, like for our particular co-op model. And just to name, there are so many different types of co-ops out there in the world. And there is not any one particular one way for a farm that wants to be a co-op that has to run in a particular formula, right? It really is about creating the entity and the ways that make sense for the individuals. And the way that a co-op was started, like ours in 2016, we have completely evolved into a completely different experience and how we operate our governance. Well, our governance is mostly the same, but there's a lot that's also changed. But specifically, for us, we ask that for anyone interested in becoming a worker owner, that they have worked for us for one full season, which is from April to November. And so anyone who wants to stay on for a second year and is interested, that's when they would begin the process. So all owners have one vote and one share, and there are no non-worker owners. So for instance, like we don't have a board. There is no sort of silent investors that are influencing any decision-making processes that we have. It's the owners and the owners only. And one thing that we found is really important for us to delineate between owner responsibilities versus what is your job on the farm, right? Because those are two distinct roles that individuals can have, is that we have job descriptions. So my role as a director, I have a job description and a contract, and we all do this every year. We tweak them, we update them, as we need to change maybe some of our roles and responsibilities as they shift from season to season. And we sign those contracts at the beginning, relatively the beginning of every year. And that's my work. That's what I do on the day to day. Versus when you're an owner, you have very distinct owner responsibilities, such as coming to the meetings. Any between the four of us, there's like some of us have very specific responsibilities. Like for me, it's about the lease with our landowners. So, and that differs from my job. Thanks, Maggie. Okay. So, um, for us, like as I was saying just a moment ago, there's many different ways that folks can govern their co-op. For us, we do have a hierarchy, whereas like some co-ops, some collectives, collaboratives, they have very flat, linear type of governance and the way that they work. And for us, we definitely revisit this pretty frequently. But for us, we do have a way that the how the owners are sort of the ones that make a lot of the heavy decisions around the business itself. But yet, like Maggie and I are directors, and we have, thanks, Maggie. Um, briefly, it's like so the worker owners ensure that the two co-directors, which happen to be currently Maggie and I, and we are also worker owners, but then we have our staffing, and everyone that kind of is the subparticles, right, kind of below. So we have a farm education manager and our programs team. We have two farm managers, and those two farm managers happen to be the other two owners, Rika and Kyle. Shout out to them. We have CSA manager, harvest manager, wash pack lead, as you can see. And so for us, this formation of leadership of the way that the actual farm business is run works relatively well for us. And it may change. That's what's great about being able to be flexible in how you run your business and your operation. Um, so so these are some of the other responsibilities that we have as owners. We have to approve our annual budget. We have a lot of legal and employee responsibilities regarding policies, safety, our land lease, our pay structure, our bigger picture purpose and our vision as we move through the world, which we just went through a really beautiful experience with a strategic development person. Shout out Kieran. And we also can approve and create new enterprises for the farm as well. We make decisions by consensus. If we're unable to reach consensus, which hardly never happens, we do have supermajority baked into our bylaws. We meet weekly, depending on the time of the year, for 1 to 2 hours. And in the winter, we tend to have longer meetings just so we can dig deeper into things. And next slide. So these are some of the key documents, which again, completely happy to share. We get these out to as many people as we possibly can. These are just some of the things that work for us. We have the cheat sheet, as I mentioned, our decision-making matrix, which is something we also give, like, and also just to say, we give all of these documents to our employees, all of our staff, and this is part of our orientation at the beginning of every year. Community agreements, our peer-to-peers. Those are just some ways that the peer-to-peer, and briefly, Maggie, let me just hang on here for a second. Our peer-to-peer and the surfacing tensions, fertilizing relationships document. Being a part of a co-op, creating a community food hub with our partners and peers of like 15 years, that requires relational work. It requires a commitment to it. And so with us at Rocksteady, we focus a lot on the creating the fluency and the fluidity of being able to give and receive feedback. So the peer-to-peer document, the servicing tensions document, those are just ways that we've created those documents with some expert support that just keep the ability for us and our team to be able to stay in right relationship as much as we can, because farming is hard as hell, right? Right.
Mhm. I'm like, yes.
Um, yes, these are some of the brilliant folks that have supported us throughout the years to the present day. Shout out to Relational Uprising. They've been our facilitators. Our like I have learned like Relational Uprising has changed my life. I just really cannot express that enough. Aorta, which is where Kieran, our uh, strategic development person, supported us. Love Aorta, another co-op. Christy Cabrera, who is a disability justice facilitator, has also been brilliant, and some of those other organizations have supported us through the years. And the one last one I will shout out, Maggie, go back real quick.
Mhm.
Super quick. The last one is Vegamala. And so that was a referral from shout out to Soulfire. They recommended Vegamala, and we've been using them for about like 3 years on a contract basis. Not as like a staff or anything like that, but they've been supporting us in their alternative. They're very social justice minded in ways of like to help employers create like a really robust and relational experience for our employees. So I just big shout out to them, and we're gonna be continue to working with them, for probably years to come. So they're brilliant.
And I'll just add to that, like when we started the farm, we had no idea what a huge amount of work HR was going to be. Just like how much that was going to take. And by the time 7 years in, we started working with Mala, we got like this HR audit and she asked us for all these documents. Surprisingly, we had a lot of them, but then when you saw how much there was all in one place, it was just bonkers. I was like, oh, this is wild. That took so much time. So just never underestimate the
Yeah.
amount of time the people take.
All right, we gotta get going, Maggie. I just realized the time. I just saw the
Okay,
time.
we got 7 minutes. We're
All
good. We're
right.
good.
So for folks that are interested in creating a co-op, or I think even if you are, maybe if it's not a co-op, when you're maybe creating a multi-owner LLC, right? Creating like exit strategies. Because from our own experience and from observing many other projects, friend projects, peer projects, people are going to leave in the first season, and people will come and go as you have a project. So it's really important to create exit ramps for that aren't clunky. And so highly recommend that. If you are partnering with someone or two or multiple individuals that are in romantic relationships, they will break up. Maggie and I were in a romantic relationship when we started Rocksteady in 2016. We broke up at the end of the second season. We kept trucking. Maggie's my homie, my fam. But thankfully it went well. But we've seen romantic relationships completely destroy a business when that relationship breaks and other people were involved. So things to think about it, as well as family planning. For those of us who are in our middle age or even younger, that could be taking care of a parent or a loved one, or you may think you may be that responsibility could be coming to you. Something to really think ahead about for yourself and maybe your farm partners. Next slide. All right. Um, Considerations for documents. Plan for owners to be seriously injured or ill. It's going to happen. It's happened to Maggie and I too many times to friggin' count, and it's not cool. Plan for your close family members that may be dying or needing of care. Workers' comp. We're farmers. We're getting injured. I'm getting injured all of the time. And it's a serious and it is a very complicated beast to navigate. And it's different in every state. For us as a co-op, we do have, if there is profit at the end of the year, not always, you need to decide how those profits are going to get shared out into their dividends. And wait, go back. Let me finish the last one. I know. See, this is We've been doing this a long ass time. Yeah, so in order for us to do our dividends, we actually track our hours, including the owners, like all staff tracks their hours. So that's actually how the dividends amongst the owners, because we're the worker owners, which is a bonus and a benefit to being an owner if there's a profit. But that's how it's determined by how many hours that an owner works throughout the course of 12 months in one calendar year. Okay, keep going. And what do? We just keep on trying. Like for real, every year we're tweaking something different. And I will say a lot of this tweaking not isn't just coming from us, the owners. It is coming from input from our staff, which we do seek a lot of. We do a lot of surveys with our staff. We do a lot of surveys with our communities, and we are accountable to our staff, to our community. And that's part of, I think that may actually be part of our magic sauce is that we I think are pretty adaptive. Sometimes it feels a little maybe we're too adaptive, but we're still here after a decade. So that feels really good. Next slide, Meg. Okay. So whether you're a co-op or you just want to start a farm, like no one size fits all. So the homies down the road, how they're doing their farm does not mean you need to do your farm that way, right? But specifically for co-ops, not all co-ops are horizontal workplaces, and that's okay. No, not all co-ops are consensus on all decisions. That's also okay. And I think it's really important to know like that some people want to have a collaborative work experience all of the time, and some people don't. And I think it's hard to figure that out in the beginning, but there was important questions to ask. Oh, and Maggie, do we have that document? The self-assessment. That's the one that we all
Yeah, we'll
get.
share that with y'all.
Okay, that's a really good one. We created this dope document as a self-assessment for folks that may want to start a cooperative, a farm cooperative. Highly recommend that. We'll get that to y'all.
Two
And
minutes.
okay. Yeah.
I'll go to the next slide and then we can see where we're at.
No, wait. Stay flexible and get ready to pivot because we're farmers and I think we know how to do that, but within your business as well, not just out in the field. Okay, so there's not a lot of farm co-ops because a big tenet of co-ops is sharing profits. And oftentimes, farms don't have a lot of profit to share. But I think part of us is we're trying to get unique through our fiscal sponsorship and our fundraising that we do definitely try to incentivize other ways for folks to be owners. Be ready to weather the storm, literally and figuratively. There's going to be hellish ups and downs. Um, I would suggest getting a therapist for real. And taking out low interest loans can be very helpful. We were scared in the beginning to do that, but have been incredibly helpful over the years. However, we have gotten those low interest loans through Seed Commons. And they have, without Seed Commons and so many other folks and entities, we wouldn't be who we are. And I saw that great question about them in the chat, and we'll get to that answer for sure. So this is us. Me, Maggie, that's our Insta, that's our website. Let's begin this Q&A.
Nice. Thanks so much, Dee.
Yep.
Thank you both. I'm inspired. I'm excited. I have a million questions. So I think this group is going to show up with some questions too. So I'm gonna lock it up until we need. Um,
Tori Amos was in this. It's
I know, I
totally,
saw
I'm like, why is Tori Amos here?
I love it. Yeah, we got the big celeb power here at NOFA. I love this. So good. Thank you both. Incredible. Really awesome to hear what's going on, what's changing, and just catch your vibe through the Zoom. I wish we could all be in person all the time, but it's awesome the way you just show up as yourselves and you're so open about sharing what's going on. Um, Let's kick it off. I do just want to invite people again to share your questions either in the chat or come off mute and interject anytime. If you need, raise a hand, use the reaction button to raise your hand. Whatever works for you to get your questions answered, and we'll get through as many as we can. I think that Jean's question here about like getting into a little bit of the details around Seed Commons and what made you eligible for that loan would be a great place to start. And she writes, did you have financial records from previous years farming, strong credit score, etc.? So what Dee's like laughing response is just already giving us clues here, so I'm loving it.
Maggie, this is like Maggie and I were talking about prepping for this call, and it was like we were kind of discussing like how did we make it this far? Because some farms don't. And I'm like, it's either it feels like luck and delusion. And this is part of, I think the answer for this question is like it honestly, Maggie, like being connected. We had to connect to what was then called the working world, now Seed Commons. Our landowners were in very tight relationship with the working world, and everyone was like kind of championing us at the beginning. And like, didn't we put together a business plan on the like a napkin, Maggie?
No, I wish.
Am I am
No,
I creating
that's
folklore that is such BS?
yeah, no,
Okay.
that we do actually have a business plan. We
But
had a
it was one page.
consultant.
It was just
No, yo, that was 25 pages. I know, no, that
you
it
know
was
that
like
you
This
so
is where
long
the
ago.
delusion comes in. Dee
I
was
know. All right,
delusional, and it is coming out.
I'm gonna mute myself. Maggie, you answer this question then.
Well, we all have our spots, you know. Dee and I balance each out. Well, I was the one hustling the finances, and Dee was growing some badass melons. Um, but yeah, we did. We had a business plan. We got some consultants to help us through the Hudson Valley agribusiness like thing that was going on is still going on, HVADC. So they covered like 75% of our consultant and our legal fees our first few years. And then we did have to do like 5 years of projections. And because we were managing the previous farmers' budgets, we could kind of use that as like the base to then create our budget. So we had a good amount of spreadsheet kind of like data from like, oh, what were we doing at this farm? And then how are we gonna make it our own? So, there was quite a bit of spreadsheets in the beginning that got us that loan for sure. And they checked our credit score, but they didn't put a loan or lien on us as individuals, which was great. We were protected with that contract. Yeah.
There's another question that's kind of related and also from Jean about the land and finding the 12 acres and how, like your search process for the land and how you approach the neighbors about leasing. And I think you did a good job talking about the lease arrangement, but if there's any other details to be shared about sort of like navigating that, that'd be awesome.
You want to take this one too, Maggie?
Yeah, I'd say
Well, because
yeah.
you applied to be the manager. Like that's really how it happened.
Yeah, it was such a like this land in particular is so beautiful and so um well positioned with our neighbors. Like, so Dee and I were coming from New York City. Actually, we were also involved with another co-op, Rise and Root Farm at the time.
Mhm.
And we were like, well, we need some more farming experience. Well, Rise and Root doesn't have enough funding to like farm, to fund all of us at the same time. So we started farming here, and Dee and I just fell in love with this land. And there was these amazing neighbors with wild seed next door. And as queer folks, as like multiracial team, like we like it was important for us to know our neighbors, you know, like really important. And to like have that trust and in an area that's very conservative, that meant a lot. So yeah, I feel like it was like the personal connections that got us to this land. And then I think making connections to local farmer in town um, also helped with the other land access. And we over the years we've had many people offer us more land. So it's pretty amazing once you start to just like go to all the business meetings, go to all the like community gatherings, go to, you know, host big events at your farm, open your space up, people will give you opportunities. So if like the land you're on isn't the land you love, sometimes through that first opportunity, you find other opportunities too.
Does that answer your questions, Jean? Do you have any follow-ups?
Oh my gosh, I have so many questions, but I'm gonna let other people ask. But that's really helpful. I advise farmers in Illinois on like the search process and finding financing. So that's why I was
Mm.
curious.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jean. All right,
Oh, I will mention we
oh,
got personal loans from friends too to start up. That was awesome to like we had a couple of like 10K, 5K, 5K kind of loans that we paid back within the first year. So I would encourage people to think outside of the traditional like lenders and also create just, you know, contracts that might be really basic, but with people who have resources that you know.
awesome. Let's go to Jennifer's question next. I've lost it. Oh, the most helpful things you've gotten from technical assistance support.
Ooh, relational work. Honestly, like I do believe for me, I'll answer for myself. I believe that getting the advisement of Relational Uprising, other facilitators, Christy Cabrera, like our disability justice, like basically like the folks that are helping us navigate ourselves and our how we're engaging with our employees, how we're engaging with each other, how we're engaging with our community, like the work that I feel that like I've been committed to for the last decade with Relational Uprising around communication and listening, like my own therapy practice and being in therapy, like all of those things combined have not just made me a better person in this project. It has just made me a better person. And I'm still evolving in how I'm showing up to this work. And I think that's really the way that I believe that I'm able to to sustain myself in this type of work that is around injustice and trying to um, create change that I wholeheartedly believe in, that is like justice based and that I'm doing with so many other people. Like that to me is like I can figure out how to grow things, but it has been, I have needed instruction on like how to interact with people, how to like communicate, how to understand myself. And to me, that's the most invaluable technical assistance shit ever.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. That's you have no idea how much you just made my week.
Oh,
Right on.
yeah. I mean, ditto to that. I I mean, we've had so much support from so many advisors, so it's a hard question. Um, yeah. So I think I said this before, but the HR stuff was really helpful. You know, like it's really hard to navigate some of these bureaucratic systems like workers' comp and insurance stuff. Yeah, it's just really helpful to get someone who just knows it like the back of their hand and guide through that process because it's quite stressful And sometimes when you're navigating that stuff it's under duress, right? You're like the one injured, or you're the one holding the business while someone else is injured.
You got a brain injury.
Yeah, which we've had many of. So yeah, just not underestimate, like just asking for that support when it comes your way.
Thanks. I'm excited to share that we have, based on your recommendation that I learned about relational uprising in another webinar you did, and we're now collaborating with them on another offering. So I'm
Yay.
excited to bring them to Vermont and more details on that to come. Um, okay, Alphonse wants to know when your BIPOC farming program opens up, which I believe, Alphonse, you're referring to that Pollinate program.
Great question. We are taking a pause year in 2026. We're doing a huge barn infrastructure project. So things are looking a little bit different in 2026, and we're gonna like redevelop the curriculum and do a lot of like training of the trainers of all of our farmers. So the next application for 2027 will be live probably around next November. Yeah. So stay
Cool.
tuned. We have a newsletter. Also, it's like at the bottom of our website. So you'll get the first notice there too.
And there's just also like lots of information about the existing program for Pollinate on our website. We're also, the programs team is in development of what is called the Hive, which is the alumni group of pollinators. So, and that's in development as well. So trying to really create something that feels really robust and long lasting for our pollinators that have graduated.
Great. Matthew asks, how do you decide what to grow? Is it determined by your consumers or a condition of some of your funding?
Me. No.
I'm so glad it's not a condition of our funding.
Fuck yeah. No.
No, it's we do a lot of input conversations like with the folks that we're growing for. The people that we are growing food for are super important to us, like CSA members, a lot of folks in the queer community, both upstate and New York, who, yeah, their input is so valuable. So we do yearly surveys, what they want to see more of, less of. And then we also have specific partnerships with kind of like community run free markets and community meals, and amazing folks on our team, Lionel, shout out to Lionel and Luca. They do a lot of work weekly talking about what folks want the next week. It's a huge amount of admin time and like emails and calls and texts, ongoing, not just in the winter, I'd say.
Oh, but final thing on that though, like, and that's what we're in the midst of right now is like, so at the end of every season too, and we've been doing this, I think, since our second season with our employees, is our staff, is we do line by line or crop by crop as a team, as a full staff team. We're like, okay, how did this crop go? How did this variety of arrows go? Like, and we'll just be like, we'll go through everything, and also that helps us inform, like if we need to make a varietal change, X something out completely, and then like kind of merge that with what the consumers, like our community actually really wants as well. So it's a hybrid of different, a confluence of different factors.
Yeah. And we do grow what our farmers want, right? We have folks that have like ancestry from all over the place, and like
Right.
it's important for, people to be growing food that they connect with also. So it's not just about the the other folks out there that we're delivering to. It's us too.
Matthew, I hope that answered your question. It looks like another one came in from Matthew about if your employees are working in the winter.
Such a great question. That is something, the reason why we're doing this big build is to give our employees more winter work. Right now, the barn that we lease is not winterized. So It's really hard for us to do any packing in the winter. And yeah, it's just not a set up space at all. So the new barn that we're doing will be winterized so that we can do it year-round CSA. Um, so that will give more full-time year-round work. Right now, our programming, educational staff, advocacy folks, they have more year-round work. And it goes down very, very part-time or none at all for some of the farmers. So that's a big challenge with the cost of living in our area and something that we're trying to lean into with this new project of ours.
Well, Maggie, what I realized you didn't mention though is the collaborative work that we're doing with Sweet Freedom, Wild Seed, and Catalyst. We're creating a food hub,
Yeah.
and between our sites, and so Rocksteady's barn renovation is going to be creating like a approximately a 3,500 square foot wash pack that is not just going to be for Rocksteady. But the idea between our two sites, what are about like 1,000 feet apart from one another, our properties, is that our larger goal is one for aggregation in our region of QT BIPOC farmers, and we hope between both of our sites that we'll begin to incubate QT BIPOC beginner farmers, and that way between Rocksteady's wash pack system, the grain mill and commercial kitchen that are going to be built over on the Wild Seed property, that we're creating something that our community needs and wants. And so that, yeah. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
name it that Maggie, yeah, that wasn't named. So
No, yeah, in the commercial kitchen, we could be doing meals and prepared stuff in the winter, like that really gives a lot of opportunities for more jobs and yeah, just an expansion of what we're offering.
and longer term,
Awesome.
I cannot get into right now.
Longer term what? I missed
Longer
it.
term vision, like it's just longer term community vision of like what it means to age in place. And that is a whole other workshop that I would love to connect with somebody about.
Let's do it. As many workshops as y'all want to do, we'll sign you up. We want to talk about all this stuff.
Right on.
Jennifer's got some like serious
I don't
fireworks
know how
going.
that went, but I loved it. I'm like, can I do that? I'm like,
I want to be able to do that too. Um, I was going to ask y'all a question about just like the financial side of entry and exit. You talked about sort of like folks have to work for as a member owner, like folks work for 1 year to be eligible. But what's like the buy-in and what do you get or like how does that work financially to have somebody like entering or exiting as an owner?
I know the entrance, I forget the exit.
hmm.
So like to enter, it's very approachable. I think it's either $1,000 or $500 as like a buy-in, like a contributing sort of monetary ask that can either be paid off in a lump sum. It could be deducted from payroll. It could be done over time. And I mean, which is also interesting, we're kind of in the midst of like determining like owner benefits versus non-owner benefits and what that looks like. And there's not very much right now in terms of incentivizing ownership other than profit sharing, really. Because a lot of the sort of we do make some more money, but it's also based on seniority. And so we trialed this past year the four owners, vision and dental through the United States Federation of Worker Cooperatives. They offer some health benefits, and we trialed that, but now we're offering that to our staff next season. There's other types of benefits like housing stipends we actually give to our staff as well as ourselves. So there's that. And then Maggie, could you explain what it means when somebody like a worker owner should exit the business though? I forget that.
Yeah. Um, Ideally, we would have 6 months notice, like written, and then your equity account which includes your buy-in amount, would get paid off over, I think we have 5 years in ours, but if we have the
Yeah.
money in the bank, we could pay it off earlier. It just gives, if for whatever reason we don't have that money, it gives us a longer off ramp. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
And you've been through that process with folks
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, we've been through it with two folks, and it went really smoothly. We were so grateful to have like a clean kind of process. Because I think we said in one of the slides, it's just like trying to be okay with the fact that, co-ops aren't always the right match, and like that's okay. There needs to be more co-ops, there needs to be more farms out there that are similar or different, and trying not to get too bogged down in those exit processes or conflicts.
Yeah. This is a clarifying question from Jean about the roles. So there's staff, worker, owner, and co-op member, or are co-op member and worker owner the same thing?
Co-op and worker owner are the same thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Dee, you said something about like the magic part of your magic sauce, you think, is like your ability to adapt. If I heard that right, like taking feedback from your people and sort of like changing things along the way, like not being set with your one. And I'm curious if either of you have an example to share of like getting feedback either from within your team or from the communities you serve and like making a change.
Hmm.
Yeah, I have two examples, and Maggie, I promise I'll be brief. I think one is there's so many, but two things come to my mind, and they're not like, one is from feedback, but the other is like from life. And I think the ones that come from our community is like when we embarked on our strategic development process, which lasted about a year and a half. Um, the Kieran, the person that was guiding us, recommended that we do a community survey. So they helped us create, like, I forget how many questions in this survey, and these were like longstanding community partners, folks that really knew us, that we trusted to get that feedback, and we disseminated that out and got some like really important feedback around like helping guide Rocksteady for like the next 5 to 10 years, like what we were going to be doing. And so like I feel that that's a really one of so many great examples of like our community saying like, no, y'all, you got this on lock as far as education for QT BIPOC folks, your food access work. Don't do that. Like there was such a resounding response to like, stay in your lane, you got it on lock, keep like take it to the next level. And then the other thing that I'll say that has been such like has kept us adaptive is, quite frankly, the shit that's happening in life, whether it's unexpected health injuries, getting Lyme, multiple occurrences of Lyme, parents getting sick and dying, brain injuries from, work-related injuries, crazy natural disasters happening on the farm that also result in brain injuries. Like, there has just been so many life external forces that have forced us to pivot our business, our like in what we're doing and how we're taking things on, that we've been forced to adapt. And that can be really challenging and really hard, but yeah, and I think it could break some folks, it could break some projects. I don't know how it hasn't done that to us yet, but that's also really real.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, all the pivots all the time. Yeah, I just add to that, even concrete things like our peer-to-peer like documents that we do in season, those have been like tweaked over many years, by feedback from our staff on like what's working with those, what's not. And then even something like the one that's coming to mind this year is like, the all of our owner meetings are open that any staff can come to them, but staff are like, oh, we want like it would be great if we had like quarterly, like the owners kind of like presenting what, are key kind of decisions, or like requiring people to go to X number a year to just ensure that like experience is more ingrained in the project. And so that's a change that we're going to try for next year. Like it's just constantly like taking that feedback and like being like, okay, yeah, let's see if what we can make happen. And sometimes we can't make all the feedback happen, right? But I think really being nimble and growing with the times and growing with the people is important.
Totes.
Oh, I wish we could stay and chat into the evening. There's so much to get to. There's one sort of, I don't know, I was going to say this might be quick, but it might not be. Matthew asked about how liability insurance works, given everything.
Oh
Is that
God.
like a whole rabbit hole, or can that be answered in like a minute?
I
Maggie,
can do
I
a
was just
minute.
thinking about this when I was going to get soil earlier. We got to change our liability insurance again.
Well, yeah. So we've had two main ones, and it's been hard because we do so many things. So we've had to like, and we do our big events, right? We don't even realize like, just like you hit things when you do them, right? Like, oh, whoops, like we should have gotten liability insurance for that thing, and then we didn't. And so now we have to add it. But we
Or
have like very traditional, like, ag liability insurance, but then we also have like event-based liability insurance and like add-ons that are kind of non-traditional, but we're going to continue to like work on that because we actually had to stop doing our tractor training to the broader public this year because our liability insurance wouldn't cover it this year. So we just did it in-house. And with local, like our really tight partners. So we're
yeah,
trying to get a new one for next year and beyond to do that.
yeah, we're trying to figure it out. Like, basically, don't lie to your liability insurance company because the underwriters will go on your website, they will go on your Instagram, and that's how like they're like, "Oh, y'all are doing educational shit where like nobody who knows how to drive a tractor is driving a tractor." Like, and so it's yeah, don't lie. Not that we were, but like yeah, like they will look for you before covering you for like $1 million liability policy. Boo.
Good question, Matthew. And I
Boo.
appreciate that we went there because this is the kind of stuff that is easy to forget about, but is so important to be tracking as you're getting into this. Um, well, I'm going to wrap us up here, make sure we end on time. And Maggie and Dee both shared generously their contact information, so we can send them additional questions. And I will also share out resources from this webinar session and also some links. I've seen y'all have some recorded sessions out in the world that are accessible. So I'll send those around as well. I'd love to hear from folks before we all disappear into the night. If you could share something in the chat that's sticking with you. One thing I'm taking away from this experience tonight is share with us. Let's lift each other up. This is one of my favorite parts of these webinars is to kind of hear what things are landing and get collectively inspired. Jennifer, one thing you're taking away is that there are other folks out there doing what my organization is doing, and now I want to visit your farm. Yes. Liberation ecosystem. Shout out. Let's get you there. Jean, luck and delusion, baby. Luck and delusion. That is the word. Yep, that's what everybody's going to go into this with.
We should get that on a shirt, Maggie, our next
I
swag.
know.
Luck and delusion and motivation and intention and persistence, y'all. You've just been like wading through it and continuing to come out the other side. Tori, collaboration and cooperation can be open channels. Beautiful. Matthew, I liked learning about the transition of the organization over time. Eric, so many of the processes and resources you access are quite powerful. Thank you for outlining them in one place. It's great to see and hear it all in action. Very great to learn about seed commons. Honey, the importance of community and communication. These are excellent. Keep them coming. Joe, it's actually possible to work with others to achieve goals that the group has. It is actually possible to do this. D is like making a face, but you're doing it.
It's
You're
hard.
Totally doing
It's
it.
hard. It's hard, y'all, but yes, it's totally possible.
Totally possible. Awesome. Yes, I'm going to check out Relational Uprising. Great. Great lift up for them. Um, Regarding the future of this, I also want to invite you. It says it on the slide here, but I did not say it. If others have resources, others in the group, if you all are in this work and have resources that you want to share with this community, please drop them in the chat so that we can share them out with everybody. And Maggie and Dee, I'll check in with y'all after to get all of your resources and make sure they get shared out. Save the date for January 13th. We are welcoming Ira Wallace and Alexa Yamashita to come and school us some more. Just want to make sure I'm saying all the things right as I share about them. And I've lost my notes here. They're going to talk about intentional communities. They've set up some super awesome intentional communities with income sharing and a bunch of other incredible components. Ira Wallace is also one of the founders of the Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, which is a cooperative seed company, and will be the keynote speaker at our winter conference. So this January session of this series is going to be a great way to sort of get to know a little bit about Ira and all she brings to this work and world. And then you can come to the winter conference in person and get inspired by her there. Let's see. What else? I think that's it for me. Oh, Maggie and Dee, can you I guess you did in your slideshow, but I definitely want to make sure people know how to follow your work and contribute. So let's have you put some of that in the chat. And of course, I am forgetting something, which is the evaluation for us. We'd love to hear what you thought of this session. We're going to keep doing them, so let us know how we can make them better. And I hope that we'll see you all again. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you, Maggie and Dee, for sharing openly and honestly and inspiring us all. The work is possible. The joy is there. Follow your hearts. Keep it up.
Thanks so
So I'll
much,
stop
y'all.
recording. Maggie D, any closing words?
Get lucky and be delusional.
Beautiful. Love that.